are being um are being canceled. Now, as you can imagine, parents are not happy about this. And there's a lot of reasons why, some obvious, some less so. The obvious reason is these people are from a foreign country, in many cases, no identification. We don't know where they came from, why they're here, what their background is, what their intentions are. We don't know what, any kind of illness they may be carrying or not. We don't know anything in a lot of these cases. And now, not only it's bad enough that they're in your communities without any verification, but now they are living in the very buildings where your kids go to school. They are within, at all times of the school day, walking distance of your children. Now, in what world, in what life does that make sense? How does that make sense? And, the reason this is important to me, I don't have kids, right? And I don't live in New York City, but I cover youth sports. I talk to these kids on a weekly, daily basis. I talk to their parents. There's a lot of love there. And the foundation of any parent, any good parent, involved parent, is they want their kids to be safe. And it's one thing we understand, unfortunately, we've had all these mass shootings. That's a whole different situation. But that is a randomly occurring event. These people are now living in the building where your kid goes to school in New York City. And I felt it was my duty to make people aware of this today, because I don't know how many people saw this or didn't see this. I saw this on Spectrum News. And you have to be aware that this could happen here. And it's important to be vigilant to make sure that the circumstances that allowed it to get to this point are not allowed to make it up here. And to this point, as far as I know, the county executives of Rockland and our own Steve Newhouse here in Orange have been doing their part to that end. But we got to make sure, as the citizenry, as the parents, we have to make sure that we hold them to that, and we hold ourselves and our county legislators and our state legislators to that, because this comes from years of neglect in terms of having a real system. I mean, I understand it on one end, because a lot of these guys are here because we just didn't have a system in place for years in how to handle them. And New York's in a tough spot because all these people are coming here. Where are you going to put them? What are you going to do with them? Like, it's not a linear problem, but it is a traceable problem to a national failure of having a regular system of some type of border control. And now it's on the doorstep of our communities in a big way. And we're watching in New York City now, parents are barricading, they're going to the schools and, basically trying to prevent these people from going in. And, it's hard to say you can blame them. They're scared, and they should be scared. They have every right to be scared as parents. You don't know who these people are. It's a really, really scary thing. It truly is. And, as a non nonpartisan observer here, I think it's terrible that parents have to think, well, gee, is someone from the gym gonna do something with my kid? There's people living in my school gymnasium. And then, so that's the safety part. The other piece to this, of course, is the fiscal justification part. The people whose activities are getting canceled, the kids, after school programs, their in-school physical education now being held in the cafeteria is greatly diminished. It can't not be when you're in a cafeteria versus a gym. What are you going to do? Jumping jacks in place in the cafeteria? I mean, come on. Now the kids are suffering because They don't have their after school sports for however long this goes on for, which isn't clear at this point. They don't have access to their gym where they can work out properly, play properly. And guess what? The taxes are still being paid for those same facilities, for those same programs. That's not going to change. But your ability to access what you're paying for as a taxpayer, especially if you have a kid, is now compromised. That's just not okay. So these are the type of things. Today was school board day. It is school board day. If you haven't done so, get out and vote already. I already did. These are the type of things that absolutely affect communities at the granular in-home level. And to this point, it hasn't reached us here yet, but it could be coming. And it's our collective responsibility as a community to do our best to prevent this from happening. It's not okay. We need a solution. We need a solution in a bad way. I don't care whose fault it is. I don't care which party's at fault. Doesn't matter. Let's get a solution. Both sides have to be introspective and adult enough to say, okay, my this piece of my perspective on this issue was wrong. Yours was right. Let's take that. Okay, my perspective here maybe is impractical. Yours is more practical. Let's take that. Let's come up with a bipartisan real solution to this mess so that we can get this stuff out of our communities and allow our kids to still be able to live their childhood. It's bad enough just a couple of years ago, we took them out of school over the common cold. It's bad enough we've done that. Let's not now let them live, let people from countries all over South America who are here for whatever reason live in the gym in their schools. Talk about keeping kids safe. That's not the way to do it. Talk about good use of public resources. That's not the way to do it. We need a solution here, guys. We absolutely do. And it's time to stop playing politics and both sides man up, own up to your shortcomings of your ideology or your lack of actual action, and let's get something done. It's time to get something done. It's right on our doorstep now. This isn't okay. It's absolutely not okay. It makes me furious. And I don't have a dog in the fight because I don't live in New York City and I don't have a child. But it's just plain wrong. It's just plain wrong. And anyone that can't see that, doesn't appreciate that, is either willfully ignorant or lying to themselves. Because this is as wrong gets. It truly, truly is. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come back. We're doing 1 hour today. We got a bunch of sports stuff to get to. Doc Rivers out of a job. Mets got killed by the Nationals last night. So we got a lot to talk about. The Gary Ayd Show back after this here on The Cave.
Coffee Lovers Middletown is now officially home to the home run of our favorite beverage, Days Coffee. Days' patented blend contains approximately 85% less caffeine than other coffees, which makes it better for you, yet unlike decaf coffee, still gives you that great pickup and tastes amazing. Formulated by a retired cancer pathologist, Dr. Grant Lee, Days Coffee is fermented with a patented enzyme that until now required a complex and thus expensive sourcing and production process. With Dr. Lee's formulation, this enzyme's great health benefits can now be brought to your cup quicker, easier, and cheaper than ever before. Here's how you get a hold of this game-changing cup of joe. Go over to radioonlydeals.com and get a $4 gift certificate to Days Coffee for just $2. That's radioonlydeals.com to buy your single-use digital gift certificate for Days Coffee. Radioonlydeals.com. That's radioonlydeals.com. Enjoy the preferred coffee of the Gary Ayd Show. Enjoy Days Coffee.
Do you own a timeshare? Well, face the facts. You made a mistake. You made a bad purchase. A timeshare is not an investment. It's a money pit that continues forever. If you use your timeshare, that's great. But if you don't and you want to legally get out of your contract, call my friends right now at the Timeshare Exit Hotline. They're an experienced team of lawyers who help good people like you get out of a timeshare contract that they just don't want. Don't throw away your money on maintenance fees. Use it for things you really want. We can help you end your timeshare contract and stop the money drain immediately. If you're ready to move on with your timeshare, call our team right now.
Cancel your timeshare now with a free call. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. 800-741-9557. That's 800-741-9557. If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. 800-826-5884. That's 800-826-5884.
All right, we're back here on the Gary Ayd Show. So Doc Rivers is out, fired as head coach of the 76ers. And the question now is, who's going to replace him? James Harden is now looking maybe to go elsewhere. It's possible he ends up back in Houston. We've heard Phoenix. We've heard a couple other places. Look, all I know is this. The 76ers were foolish, in my opinion, to hire this guy in the first place. The outcome here was predictable and foreseeable. He's got a record the length of War and Peace of failure in these exact type of spots and positions. He was never going to get you over the top. Now, people say, well, it looked like Harden and Embiid quit. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. I tend to think it was probably a bad game from both of them. Harden has a long history of these, just like Doc does as a coach. Harden does as a player. Embiid is beginning to build a bit of a history with this, although nowhere near as drastic as either of them. I tend to think it was just bad games. But what if it wasn't? Well, let's say they did quit. Well, you can't use that as an excuse for Rivers. In fact, it's damnation for Rivers, right? What is the job of any coach? To have his team ready to play, to have him bought in, to have him engaged, to have him play hard for him. If you can't do that as a coach, you can't do your job. That is your job, right? Especially as a head coach. Look, in most levels, but particularly in the NBA, most head coaches aren't bogged down by X's and O's, play design, skill development, all that stuff. Assistants do that to whatever extent that that's done in NBA practices. A lot of these guys have their own coaches, private coaches, whatever, maybe supervised by the team. But for the most part, you're doing a lot less skill development in the NBA than you are at other levels. And whatever development is done by the assistant coaches. Whatever play design is done, in most cases, is done by the assistant coaches. The head coach will drop a play here or there, particularly in out-of-bounds situations, which Rivers actually excels at. But your job is really, as a head coach, you are head psychologist and head motivator and head organizer. That is your job. If you tell me, well, it's not Rivers' fault because his guys quit him. No, that is it. That's the ultimate fault of the coach. As a head coach, your ultimate responsibility is to keep these guys engaged. It is to keep these guys playing hard. It is to keep these guys on the mark and focused. That is your job. It's why Phil Jackson is the greatest coach in NBA history. He took guys of egos of insane proportions and turned them into selfless team players, winning players. Those two guys, Kobe, Jordan, and then Shaq would be the third, right? Pippen to an extent. But Kobe and Jordan had egos the size of planets. And it's my opinion that it's evident by the fact that neither one of them had any success whatsoever without Phil as their coach. Phil was as important to their winning reputation as they themselves were. He brought that out of them consistently, year after year. No other coach came close to doing it with either guy. So, to me, that is a head coach. If you tell me guys quit, it means the coach isn't doing his job. That's the bottom line. And Doc Rivers has a long history of losing playoff series, of losing game sevens, and of underachieving in the playoffs. He's a very good win-loss record in the regular season, which definitely counts for something. I'm not saying it's useless because I don't believe it is. But I do believe that his failures in the postseason at this point are predictable, expectable, and habitual. This is who he is. I know he's extremely popular within the NBA. I know players absolutely love him, but they don't play hard for him in the spots that they need to. Liking someone or loving someone and respecting them are two very different things. Players loved Ray McClain, the guy that preceded Vince Lombardi with the Packers. Never heard of him, you say? That's understandable. He was a not heard about worthy coach. He was a great guy. Guys played poker with him. They drank with him. They would take him home when he would get smashed. You think they played hard for a guy like that? You think they respected him? Let alone feared him? Not a chance. You think they were buddy-buddy like that with Vince? No way. They probably called him Mr. Lombardi or Sir. They were scared of him. They respected the hell out of him. He got the best out of him. Doc Rivers is loved. Doc Rivers is well-liked. I don't know that he's well-respected. And if he is, he's not feared. He's not inspiring. Because if he was any of those things, guys wouldn't quit on him. So if you want to go down the road that Harden and Embiid quit on Doc Rivers, this is the logical conclusion of that road. And if this is the conclusion, it's also a irrefutable condemnation of Rivers as a coach. Now, if you want to say it was a bad game by the players, that absolves, to a degree, Rivers in this case. But his long history of this happening over and over and over again in multiple locales tells me that he's probably has more fault to it than not. So this was a firing that had to happen, that was foreseeable, that was predictable, that was necessary. So that leads us to the question of, well, who's next? Well, I think a lot of it has to do with, well, who's going to be on the roster? Is James Harden still going to be there? And if he is, what's he willing to do? Names out there, Mike Budenholzer, Monty Williams, we know those guys. Kenny Atkinson's out there. We've heard the name Jay Wright, the former Villanova coach, who's, out on the sidelines right now, still pretty young to be retired. I would be not too surprised if he was going to get one of these jobs, particularly with the performance recently of Villanova players in the NBA. So there's a lot of names out there. But we'll see. I think I know this. If I was one of these coaches, I would want to see a resolution to what the team is going to do first and what it's going to look like before I committed. Because I don't want to commit here to find out James Harden's gone. Embiid wants to get traded. We've even heard that. I don't believe that, but we've even heard that. I want to see what roster I'm working with first. And if I was the 76ers, I wouldn't be in a rush to hire a coach. I would be in the rush to find out what's my roster going to look like. And then once I know that, then I would hire the best available guy. There's more qualified good coaches available right now than there are jobs. Budenholzer, Williams, Atkinson, Wright. All these guys are very good coaches. Rivers, if you want to add them to that list, obviously not for the Sixers, but for someone else to maybe hire. And there's only 3 jobs available? What is there? There's Philly, there's Milwaukee, there's Phoenix, right? I don't think I'm missing any, am I? I think that's it. So the bottom line is there's a lot of good coaches out there. 1 or 2 more named coaches than there are jobs. And I think there's always the likelihood that one of these jobs, I forgot Nick Nurse is out there. One of these jobs, and Toronto's open. One of these jobs is going to likely go, one or more of them is going to likely go to a candidate we haven't mentioned. A longtime assistant, a young up-and-comer, an international coach. There's always one or more that goes to someone in that category. But right now, it's Philly. That's open. Detroit is, I think, still open. Phoenix is open. Milwaukee is open. And I thought Toronto was open too. I think there's 5 of these. So anyway, something to keep an eye on. That's for sure. I personally, if I was the 76ers, let's find out what the roster is, and then we'll figure out, okay, what coach is out there that best fits it. That would be my approach. So there you have it. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come back. We got more to get to. Lakers play tonight. NFL schedule is out. Question of the day, a lot to get to. Going till 5, the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call. Because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines. Plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
All righty, we're back here on the Gary Ayd Show. It's good to have you aboard. Gary Ayd with you. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this Lakers playoff game. There's a lot of things to break down here. Let's start from the top. Um, First of all, the matchups are really, really interesting. The key one that everyone's talking about, and we'll start here, is of course Anthony Davis versus Nikola Jokic. Historically, Davis has done very well against Jokic, and has given him a hard time. This is a more mature, more seasoned, more confident Jokic than the last time the Lakers played the Nuggets in the playoffs a few years ago, when Davis really got the best of him. But this is a very engaged, very determined, and apparently, knock on wood, very healthy Anthony Davis. So I personally think that this matchup is going to be more of a tug of war and less of a decisive matchup than a lot of people are speculating it will be. Certainly it's critical, it's where everything starts, but I think these two are really going to give it to each other. I expect Davis to score a lot of points with his length and athleticism. I expect Jokic to consistently bring Davis away from the basket. So I expect Davis's shot blocking and, more importantly, shot altering and rim protecting powers that were so key to the Lakers' victory in the Golden State series. I expect those to be largely muted by Jokic's ability to draw him away from the basket. And that's going to open up a lot of opportunity for other guys on the Nuggets, especially Jamal Murray, who to me is the X factor for Denver. Who are the Lakers going to put on him? Is it Russell? Is it Schroeder? Is it Austin Reeves? There's the good news for the Lakers is they have a lot of good bodies that they could go in that direction with. I mentioned three of them. If he's out there, you could put Walker on him. Beasley was out there. Maybe you go that route. You could go big against him with a guy like Hachimura, perhaps. I think that's going to be a key because I think Murray is going to be the biggest beneficiary of the space that is created by Jokic bringing Davis away from the basket. And the question is going to be, can someone else on the Lakers make enough of an impact as a rim protector to cover that backside? Or if you're the Lakers, do you put someone else on Jokic so that you can leave Davis near their basket? And then where do you put Davis? Because the other thing about Denver is they spread you out. They have a lot of guys who can shoot, but so do Golden State. So I think that's going to be the key, is what is opened up by Davis being, assuming Davis does guard Jokic, what is opened up away from, with Davis away from the basket, and who is going to benefit from Denver's side. Then on the flip side of this, if you're the Lakers, what's Denver going to do about LeBron James? Is Michael Porter Jr. disciplined enough, strong enough, committed enough to be his principal defender and slow him down enough to have him not tear the series apart? I don't think so. KCP's not big enough. Aaron Gordon might be a good option. It's probably your best guy. But what happens if he gets in foul trouble? And then if he's guarding LeBron, LeBron is more as much a passer as a scorer. I think Aaron Gordon by himself is not enough. And then you worry about the Lakers' other guys. See, the other guys, this is where this is such a good series to me. Both teams have quote unquote other guys that can do a lot of damage. The Nuggets have KCP. They got, I mentioned Aaron Gordon. They got, of course, Michael Porter Jr. He's not really another guy, but you understand my point. They got Bruce Brown. Lakers, by contrast, have Austin Reeves. They got Lonnie Walker. They got Rui Hachimura. They got Dennis Schroeder. D'Angelo Russell, sort of in the same category, I guess, as Porter Jr., kind of the head of the other guys, I guess you could say. This is a loaded roster. Both teams have a lot of ancillary weapons. I think the Lakers are a little deeper. One name I'm going to throw out there to you that's been injured and is apparently on his way back. This is a name on the Lakers bench that hasn't been in the rotation for much of the year. Between A, not being there from the start, and B, being injured and or just not part of the rotation. But a guy I could see having an actual X factor type of role in this series. And that guy's name is Mo Bamba. He is out for game 1 because of an ankle injury. But he might be on his way back. If he comes back, if he's healthy, I don't know that he'll be in the rotation, but he's a guy that could at least attempt to, if not guard Jokic, play alongside Davis for stretches to provide that rim protection while Davis is away from the basket, like we were talking about before, and make up some of that. Watch out for Mo Bamba. If Mo Bamba is healthy, don't be surprised if he doesn't find himself a little PT in this series for that situational matchup. This is what deep role players are for. We saw Steve Kerr go with this approach in Sacramento. JaMychal Green became a big factor. Tried that against the Lakers. It didn't really work. But we see this from time to time. Duncan Robinson, after Tyler Hero went down, became a bigger part of the rotation again from Miami. Don't be surprised if Mo Bamba, if he is healthy at some point this series, doesn't have a surprising role. I'm keeping my eye on that. I am. As far as tonight, who do I think is going to win? It's a tough ask. This series and this game, by extension, can absolutely go in a number of directions. I think it's very likely that the Lakers win tonight. I think that they'll be healthy, rested, and ready to go. I think this is a 6 or a 7 game series, no matter what. I think both teams will have opportunities, and I can see this series being one of a number of close games. I think this is a really, really good matchup. And one thing that's kind of changed over the course of the year, the playoffs, I should say, I came in thinking it was a foregone conclusion that the survivor of Milwaukee, Philly, or Boston would ultimately win the NBA title. And I still think Boston has a very good shot at it. But both these Western teams, the Lakers and Nuggets, have looked far better in the playoffs than I expected either of them to be. Of course, the Lakers, because they were such a bad team this whole year. But the Nuggets look more complete, more versatile, and more engaging defensively than I ever thought they were going to. The one thing that would concern me, probably the biggest matchup problem that I would be worried about if I was the Nuggets, is the one thing I still think they don't have, which is a good rim protector, weak side shot blocker. Against a team like the Lakers that lives with playing downhill, lives at contact at the rim, which leads to free throws. Who is going to prevent them from doing that? Who's going to be the guy at the rim, the last line of defense? I don't think the Nuggets have that guy. And if the Lakers can continue to get into the paint and play downhill, I think you could see more of the same that we saw in Golden State, a team that gets a lot of free throws because they're earning them, and a team that is able to get key players in early foul trouble or playing more conservatively defensively to avoid said foul trouble. If I was the Nuggets, that would be my biggest concern going into the series. My next biggest concern would be we got to make sure that our role guys are up for the challenge because the Laker role guys, unlike traditional role guys, a lot of them play very well on the road. So I think if you're the Nuggets, you have to get your top guys, your top role guys, I mean, to be at that level each and every night, each and every game. And that's going to be a challenge. So if I'm Denver summarizing this, my two biggest worries are dealing with the Lakers dribble penetration and what do I do in the way of shot blocking for it? And then how do I prevent them from living at the free throw line? And then how do I make sure that my role guys are up to the challenge of the Lakers role guys? Both teams have very good role players. I think the Lakers role players are a little bit better, and there's a few more of them. I think the Lakers go 9 deep. I think the Nuggets go about 7 or 8 deep. So if I'm the Nuggets, those are my two biggest concerns. If I'm the Lakers, my biggest concern is how do I close off the lane and secure the defensive boards, assuming Davis is out on the perimeter dealing with Jokic? Or what's my alternative to matching up with Jokic if it's not Davis? I don't know if the Lakers have one. So which is more damning? Putting a smaller defender on Jokic or bringing Davis consistently away from the basket? Those are the questions. And then the second question, if I'm the Lakers, is how do I prevent Denver's elite shooting from just out shooting me in this series? That's a challenge I think I would be more comfortable if I'm the Lakers in answering and addressing than the first one, because they had to do the same thing basically in the series they just won. And that just comes down to those role guys I mentioned being engaged, good perimeter defenders, which they all are. But the Nuggets, make no mistake, are as good a shooting team as there is in the entire NBA. So that is something that they can absolutely just shoot you out of a game if you don't prevent them from doing so. So, and they're going to make hard shots. They're going to make shots where they're well defended. You can't lose confidence. You can't lose faith. You have to continue to execute, even if they're making shots in spite of good execution. You got to keep doing it. I got the Lakers tonight, and I think this is going to be a really good 7-game series. I expect this to go all the way. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap things up. It's the Gary Ayd Show back after this here on The Cave.
Do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at crazy low prices. They have access to great prices and discounts at over 500 different airlines, plus 300,000 hotels and rental car companies. Their prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find the best price for you. Call SmartFares today and get ready to see the world with a fat wallet.
800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. 800-370-2460. That's 800-370-2460.
Come on, you watch the news. Be prepared to pay more taxes. Then, if you owe back taxes or haven't filed in a few years, get ready. The IRS, the largest collection agency in the world, will be coming after you with the power to collect taxes by any means they want to. Hey, they can freeze your bank account, your passport, even padlock your business. Oh, good times. Look, if the IRS claims you owe them $5,000 or more in back taxes and they're coming after you, don't panic. Call my friends at Get a Tax Lawyer first. Their job is to negotiate with the IRS and save you money. They're experts at it. That's all they do, and you can trust them. In some cases, they have reduced a $50,000 tax bill to less than $1,000. If you owe the IRS $5,000 or more in back taxes, call now for a free consultation.
Call 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. 800-649-8617. That's 800-649-8617.
Alrighty, we're back here on the Gary Ayd Show, and here's an interesting question today. I was thinking about this yesterday. So we had a pretty good back and forth with Ja Morant's situation yesterday. So I wanted to take another angle at this topic. In whatever year it was, 2018, 2019, the year that him and Zion came out, it was pretty much Zion's the pick. I was saying Morant's the pick, but it was clearly Zion was the number one choice. And he did go number one. Morant went number two. Over the course of their careers to this point, it's been very clear that Morant was the better pick, has been the better performer by virtue of largely being much more available, to say nothing of the fact that his skill and position type maybe fits the modern NBA a little bit better, which is one of my reasons for preferring him on draft night. Now, with his gun-touting escapades over the last couple of months, I think that question for the first time is really up for debate. In a lot of ways, it's the second or third time. In some ways, it's the first time. It was clearly Zion coming out. It's been clearly Ja in the first few years of their respective careers. But now, if you as a GM had to make a decision on one of them and you were required to give one of them a max extension, who would it be? Is it Zion Williamson with his checkered injury past, his Anthony Davis-like pain tolerance, and his seeming unwillingness to play when he's not 100%? Or is it Ja Morant, whose off-the-court decision-making is likely to cost him a lot of games and maybe, depending where this goes from here, a lot more than that, perhaps even his career? Which way would you go? Certainly, there's insurance on Zion's health, so you won't lose money. It'll count against your salary cap, but you won't lose the money. Certainly, there's clauses that you'll put in Ja's contract where you won't lose money, but it'll count against your cap if he does something, if he goes AWOL. But in either case, that is the tether of your franchise. That is the guy you're tying your boat to. Which one are you going to take? Which one are you comfortable with? If you have to pick, and no cop-out answers. No, I wouldn't take either one of them. No. You have to choose one. One of them is getting a 5-year, $200 million contract from your franchise. Where are you going? I got to tell you, I would still go with Ja Morant. I have to believe with his talent, with his appeal, I have to imagine that they're going to work through this stuff. It might get bumpy for a while. I think it's almost guaranteed that it will. But I'm more confident in that ultimately becoming a title storm of the past than I am in Zion ever being a reliable number one based on his unwillingness or inability, whichever you want to go with, to play hurt and to stay healthy. I think that it's highly unlikely that ever changes. Sure, it could go the way of Zydrunas Ilgauskas, who had major foot problems early and became very, very healthy and stable later. But more times than not, guys who are injury prone as young players don't get less injury prone later in their careers, usually. And in Zion's case, as with Kawhi Leonard, I've always gotten the feeling that in a lot of these games that he hasn't played, he absolutely could have and maybe should have played, but didn't, using injury as an excuse. And that's a character issue. That is a want to issue. That is to whatever degree, a biological issue. Those issues, in my opinion, are much more problematic, and I'm much more pessimistic in working past them than I am a behavioral issue. Um, Particularly if at some point, I don't predict this, but if at some point societal feelings around what Morant's doing soften or change, to this point, as I was saying yesterday, he's not broken any laws. So at some point, maybe they'll just reduce the punishment or stop punishing this type of behavior if it does perpetuate, or it might stop. A guy who isn't going to play because he's always hurt, even when he's not hurt, that's not likely to stop or change. So if I had to pick one, I would still stick with Ja Morant. But this wasn't even a question in my mind anyway 3 months ago. And I think you were starting to see more people come around to my side of it over the last year or two with the way the Grizzlies have become very competitive and Zion is never available. I was on this bandwagon, the Ja bandwagon, since they were both in college. I thought he was the better option. People were starting to come around to my side. This might push them back, and it's understandable why it would. So the question, which one of the guys would you take? Ja Morant or Zion Williamson? I'm going Ja Morant. The Mets got killed yesterday 10-3 by Washington. What a disaster. I don't know what to say with this team anymore. Yankees are starting to round into form. It's beginning to feel like same old in New York, right? Neither team's going to win a title, but the Yankees are going to be better. Very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. We'll be back tomorrow. Rich will not be here tomorrow. I will be. And then we will be back again together on Thursday. So that's what's on tap the rest of the week. Good stuff today. We will see you tomorrow. It is the Gary Ayd Show here on The Cave.
Are you like me? You have health insurance, but you don't have dental insurance. Do you need to get to the dentist right away? Maybe you need an implant or some other major service. Well, I found a dental insurance plan that's just